Hey guys, welcome back to Diamond Talks with me, Oro Vlogs. If you're new here, my name is Ali Kimji. I'm the creator of Diamond Talks, and today we have my co-host, as usual, Irfan Naji, and we have a special guest who's known by the name of Mama Wanyama, and her name is Maureen Some. She's 19. She's also known as the voice of the voiceless. Please, Maureen, introduce yourself better for us.
Hi guys. So yes, my name is Maureen Some, also known as Wanyama or the voice of the voiceless. That's wildlife, and I'm a wildlife conservationist. I started doing this since I was basically, I think, 3 years old, having grown up in Laikipia. For those who don't know, Laikipia is known to be one of the best destinations for wildlife here in Kenya. So my whole life has been around wildlife. So that's during my childhood. When we moved to Nairobi, I was 9 years, and I started adopting street cats. So I had over 30 street cats and dogs in our house, yeah. And with that, I started now focusing more on volunteering with wildlife organizations. And at 15, I started working with the Kenya Wildlife Services in the animal orphanage. And that's probably when I discovered my purpose and passion with wildlife. And while in Brookhouse, I continued doing this for a couple of years. While in Brookhouse, and that's how I met Ifran actually in Brookhouse, I started being more active in the environment club. But then I realized that there was a gap between the environment and wildlife. So we used to do a lot of tree planting, but I wasn't satisfied with the fact that we don't have activities on animals as much, and my passion was strictly with animals. So I decided, look, why don't I just start this wildlife project with a few students, and then we'll see how far we can go with it before I clear from Brookhouse. And with that, all the projects that I did, because I did a diploma course, all the projects that I did even in business was related to conservation. And it made my work easier because as much as I love business, I hadn't found that niche of how can I connect business to my passion, and my passion is animals. So all the projects that we used to do, because it was mostly coursework and everything, I used to relate it to animals and make it as sustainable as possible. So I ended up thriving a lot in studies because I focused on my passion and my studies and brought it to one, yeah. So with the wildlife project that I started in Brookhouse, I got a lot of attention outside school, and people thought it's an actual organization to do this, yet it's just me as Maureen Some working with the wildlife service. It was nothing serious. So I thought, okay, so there are so many people out there who think this is an actual foundation for wildlife and for young people. Why don't I actually give them that platform to do so? So when I was a few months from clearing, when we were about to clear from year 13, I had a sit down with some of the government officials in the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. At that time, I had done a talk on. They loved the videos, they loved what I do, and they said, you know what, you need to make this official in Kenya. You need to have for young people in conservation. And that's when it hits me that, okay, maybe what I'm doing is a bit impactful, not the way I saw it, but maybe it's actually making a difference, you know? And something about me is when I was in school, I don't know what the word is, but I wasn't a born leader. I tend to be, why I like working with animals is because I don't have to speak with animals. I don't like speaking on camera, like there I am right now. I don't like speaking in front of people. When I realized that what I'm doing is very impactful, it has to now bring me closer to more people, I was a bit hesitant on it. I wasn't ready for that position. I felt like the position was too big for what I know of myself. So I sat down with my family and I told them this is probably the best thing to do right now. I mean, I've already started. The worst that can happen is fail while doing it, and that wouldn't even hurt because sometimes you fail and learn something out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. At the same time, you're making a difference, and I believe why we came to this earth as human beings, as individuals, is to always help in whatever way you can. My purpose right now is to make a difference in what I am good at, and that's with animals. So I decided, you know what, I'll get out of my comfort zone and I'll start speaking out in people for what I believe is right, and I'll fight for the animals in whatever way. And I had a sit down with now the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife and Ministry of Environment. And we finalized that, you know what, we need a lot of young people participating in wildlife conservation issues. So I started reading deeper about wildlife. I started reading deeper about the issues that face Africa with conservation, the stereotypes behind it. And when I started, one thing that one of the biggest challenges was actually with my age and my ethnicity, if I might say, because in this industry, it's known the stereotypes. The stereotypes are either you're from a very rich background, which was not the case, or you have you come from, you're a foreigner, you're not really African, not your industry, it's some Zungu industry, and that your age. You have to be someone who's already settled down, you've figured out everything, and now you've retired, and now you don't know what to do, so you're just giving back to the community. For all those three things are nothing as to what I am. I am 19, I have nothing. I am Kenyan, full Kenyan, and what was the other one? What was the other?
Ethnicity. Oh, you said, so you're 19, your ethnicity, and you didn't come from a heavy background.
Exactly. I don't know. Sorry. Exactly. So I realized, okay, if I'm none of that.
So before you can carry on, if I can say, I actually love how you didn't follow this, what society's pronounced as stereotypes, and you found your passion from young. And I think that's very hard for people to do, in the sense that they feel that, oh, if I follow this, people are going to think bad about me. But from what I'm learning from you and from what I've seen on your Instagram, you actually said, I don't care what people think about me. I love the wildlife. They don't have a voice. I'm going to be their voice. And when you created the Wild Now Foundation, that's actually amazing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, the main purpose, sorry, Somi. The main purpose for Diamond Talks, I feel, was to bring out the best in people, to see how people are changing the world, and to see that someone who I personally know and who I've actually schooled with and everything, and we're literally at the same place, age-wise and everything, to see someone this young working so hard, working with every single one of her efforts to do something better for the world, for the environment. It's inspiring to see for someone like me also.
Thank you. Actually, when we're in school with Ifran, and I mentioned to one of my friends, Tamia, that I wanted to do conservation, I remember that she asked me, so if you're going to focus on wildlife conservation, does that mean you're going to be a ranger? Just, doesn't mean close to being a ranger and working directly with animals. The industry has a lot to offer. You can be in the business aspect of conservation. So there's a lot that people didn't understand that I learned during my time now that I'm a conservationist, that I think young people should learn. Coming out of the comfort zone of not being able to lead, and actually leading right now has been something that I would always tell young people: if you're scared to do something, do it. What you're scared of, do it. What that one thing that you fear doing the most is what's going to make you different from all the other people. So
Definitely.
if your knowledge and consistency, if you have those two things, knowledge and consistency in the sector that you want to fall under, then you will definitely thrive. Just don't be comfortable in one place and say, I'm scared, or what will people think about this and that. I can't do it because I don't have this. Because I started honestly with nothing. I had no money completely, but then just working around with the few people that you have, and also getting a good team, people who understand the vision, people who understand what your objective every day, will make your work a bit easier. Because over time, as I've mentioned, I didn't start with being a people's person. I didn't like interact with people as much. But then I realized that the best thing that you can have to make something grow is a good team. I don't need 10 people. I mean literally 1 or 2 people. That's enough. If you have 2 people who believe in your vision, you're good to go. But if you have a team of 15, 20 people who have different agendas, then you'll get mixed up. And that's the worst thing that can happen starting something good. So get a team of 2, 1 even person who believes in you, believes in your vision, what has good intentions to make it happen. So that's one of my biggest take in everything that I've been doing.
If I can ask, how did you actually come out of that zone of being scared of or not being a people's person to actually, I've seen some of your videos, to making videos, to talking to a camera, to talking to different people, to talking to different ministers. And so how did you get out of that box, if we can call it a box?
Well, this is something that people don't know, but it started when I was also still in lookout, because I did what makes BTEC a bit different from A levels is we do a lot of presentations, a lot of coursework on the ground activities. So I believe, and I used to hear a lot of my friends saying this, but I was never the best presenter. And have people choosing who to be in your group, and I will never get chosen because I was never good at presenting. So that one I knew officially, I can never speak in front of people. And then this one time I gave a really good presentation. It was English and it was about wildlife. And I didn't even care about the script that was written down. I spoke out of what I believed was in my heart and what I knew. And it came out so naturally, and I became more confident the way when I about it. And the fact that I attracted so many people with what I do increased confidence of me speaking more to people. So as I grew now more into public speaking and speaking now in the assemblies and everything, I when you have that, I don't know what word to use. When you have that, when you know definitely that you're good at something, your confidence increases. And so whenever I have a camera and I know I'm about to speak about wildlife conservation, nothing can stop me. So I believe even if you're not good at getting out there and speaking in front of people, getting that one thing that you know you're good at just pushes you to want to always speak about it, especially if you know you're making a difference. So I remember one time when I was on my Instagram, someone texted me and they were like, I know we are not really that close, but I know for sure that you've impacted a lot of young people to make a difference in the environment. To not litter, to not do this. You've even made us start a project. And I never thought that I'll get a DM from someone telling me that I have helped them in some way. So I realized, okay, I'm doing something small, but it's kind of big out there. It's small to me, but it's actually something so big to someone out there. So that confidence grew bigger and bigger and bigger every day. So every time I do something, I do it with all my heart. So I try to speak.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. I just live out every fear that I have and just speak.
Doing what you love brings the best out of you. Correct.
Yeah, I think everyone listening should focus on this point. I think this is like a really good point. You create your own box, if that's what we're gonna call it, a box. You create your own box, and you decide when you're gonna get out of it or when you're going to make the box bigger. You know. So.
And also something else, it's one step at a time. We tend, one of my biggest, I don't know, toxic traits I can say is I'm a perfectionist. So I like my work being really, really good. So I used to disappoint myself when I go on stage and I say something and then I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said it in that way. That doesn't sound professional. So I end up hating myself for missing out on maybe one word or something. But then what you don't realize is you had the confidence to even go stage in the first place, something you couldn't do before. So one step at a time, accepting that you're still growing, that you just don't wake up and become 100% good. You go stage by stage by stage.
And
one step
your first point, I remember you saying before, you learned from your failures. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what we've been trying to get the message across in our last, actually 2 episodes of Diamond Talks. Failure is part of the journey. Don't you agree?
I agree 100%. Actually, we learn more from failures than success. I can't imagine a world where everyone is succeeding. What are you learning? You know, majority of things that we are getting in life is from us falling down and waking up, falling down and waking up. You have a story to tell. But I have majority of the success. Even if the book I'm reading right now, okay, I can't trace it because of the camera, but it's about success, some top 50 successful people in the world and their stories, and the amount of time they've fallen down and woken up the 10th time is countless. But then that's what makes you different, because you will always fail. But if you're someone who fails or you give up, then you're not ready for success, because being successful comes with strategy. As you grow to be a bigger person in terms of maybe your position at work, you're delegated bigger tasks to do. So the failures that we go through contribute to how our mindsets grow as well, how we are able to handle the challenges that come. So I take failures than people's failures than people's successes, because I learn from them as well. Yeah.
Since you brought up a reading, which I feel is a very good point, how much does reading and like gaining more information and knowledge, how important is it in our day-to-day lives?
Did you hear what I said in the beginning? I said 2 things are important. Okay, you can scratch everything I've said right now, but take only 2 things from me: knowledge and consistency. That's it. If you read and you're consistent in something, you have it all. Read a lot of books. If someone who wants to be in the photography industry, get to learn as many skills as you can. Read books about it. Read about top photographers. How did they fail? How did they become as good as they are? I believe reading a book opens a different dimension in your mind of success or something. I don't know. I personally love reading. I learn a lot from. I prefer reading than watching a movie. I don't know if that's, but I prefer reading. So with that, I've been able to. I see the world in a very different way. The knowledge that you get from reading is something that you need to be I don't know what word to use on this. Be a better human, to succeed in life, because able to succeed in life comes in different ways. In terms of mindset, it's always in your mind, what you take in your mind and how you are able to release this energy to now your community and everything. And all this you learn from only reading. And if you can practice what you're reading, then what's stopping you from becoming a person? Be read and be consistent. Always want to do something every day that's one step closer for you to reaching that goal for what you want to be. So read books, guys. Take that from me. Yeah.
Perfect. Read books and be consistent. That's going to be a new life goal.
Yeah. Consistency is. So if I can ask, sorry.
And reading books doesn't mean reading page to page, because I see a lot of people say read books, they tend to read from page to page. Sometimes I don't read from the whole thing. I tend to just grasp on the few things that I think are important. If you can, why not? But then sometimes I end up reading probably 3 books in a month maximum. I'm trying to do that, but I don't read page to page. Just fill yourself with knowledge that you don't. Yeah.
Awesome. So now, what's your goal for the Wild Now Foundation? Future goals, present goals,
and also, yeah, if you can add on, like, just tell us a bit more about Wild Now Foundation, what it is exactly you do for anyone listening.
Because I can tell you, me and Irfan are definitely joining your foundation. We're definitely going to be there to support you in any way.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you for that, guys. Actually, okay, what Wild Now is about is it started with wildlife conservation, strictly on wildlife. But then along the way, I just learned you can't have wildlife and not help the communities that are wildlife. You know, I can't be talking about animals and forget the human beings that are being affected every day by animals. So what Wild Now is about human-wildlife conflicts, people who are affected by wildlife issues, and also the wildlife issues that are affecting animals in general. So currently we have projects in here in Narok, and right now we are trying to work now with Kajiado because of Nairobi National Park. And it's basically to improve the conditions of the community in a more sustainable way. How can they benefit from wildlife? Because people love animals. Africans love animals. And we tend to kill animals or do a lot of poaching, if I might say, because we have no other alternative of bringing food to the table. We also need to survive. So I never really blame the poachers for what they do, because they are trying to get a meal. But then how can we do that without harming our wildlife? So we give them options of, you can benefit from ecotourism, you can be selling these products to tourists, and so you have to take care of wildlife so that tourists come. So we come up with projects with communities for them to benefit and appreciate our wildlife, and at the same time we are trying to secure our wildlife. Currently with Nairobi National Park, something that we are working on is just prevent what some groups of people, if I may say, are trying to come up with constructions that are a bit harmful to the ecosystem. So such things are what we are for. And what makes one different from other organizations is because it's coming from a youthly perspective. The youth are not involved in the youth don't know about what issues are out there about facing Kenyans with wildlife in Nairobi National Park. Yet it's something that's affecting us. If you look at Kenya, for example, where will you ever find a national park in the city? That's unique. That's unique, and that's something we need to protect, because I want my kids to see that. I want my kids to be able to go to school, go to work, and at the same time on Saturdays they can go to the national park. But if no one talks about that right now, if none of us talk about it, then Nairobi will be a typical city without a national park. And the people behind conservation are people who have, as I've said, figured out their lives. But then they need to hear from this generation, because we want to take care of the wildlife for the coming generation. So that's what's different about World Now. It's a youth organization run by the youths that gives a voice for our wildlife from a youthly perspective. And I believe young people are brilliant because we have the exposure to technology, our ideas. Sometimes I sit down with someone who's 15 and I'm wondering, you sure you're 15? Because the ideas that they have, I might sound like the expert, but the ideas that some people have, it's just out of this world. But then they just don't have the platform. So with World Now, we're just giving the platform to push for these agendas, push for these ideas with other NGOs, with other partners that we are working with to make our environment better. So we started last year in September. We launched in September. We are not even 1 year yet, but I believe what World Now has done is a lot. And what I love the most about World Now is that we've been able to prove that young people can do something. And yeah, the goal of World Now, you asked about the goal of World Now. The goal of World Now is to incorporate more people to now deal with the issues that are mentioned about conservation. We want now young people to be involved in policy making when it comes to conservation. We are not there yet, but every day that's our goal. Involve more people. Break that stereotype of what conservation is to be. Everyone should do conservation, because the environment is part of us. If run whatever you're studying, is it engineering, mathematics, I don't know, the title conservation will be written in your heart, because the environment, wildlife is just a part of us. You don't need to study it. I don't even study conservation. I just speak out of the passion that I have, and I believe in that. So that's basically the goal of World Now. Yeah.
That's great. So you believe that everyone in their heart should have something for the wildlife, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, because I'm personally a Christian, and I think a lot of all these religions and everything, there's one thing that's very similar. Okay, the majority of the stories are very similar, but there's one thing that stands out when it comes to religion, is that our God brought us to this world to take care of his creations. You don't need to study for you to take care of God's creation. You know what's right, what's wrong. So you don't need to go to school to be an environmental scientist to come to say you have to take care of the environment. Just don't litter. Simple as that. Yeah.
So what would you say to someone? Yeah. So what would you say to someone who's listening to this, who knows that, yes, this is the right thing to do. I'm supposed to take care of the environment, but there are sometimes when it comes to wildlife, they don't have the platform, like you said. So what would you say to someone who's listening to this, who wants to take the first step but doesn't know how to take the first step?
The first thing is you've already thought about it. So you've already taken the first step of knowing that there's something wrong somewhere and I need to do something about it. So that reasoning is already enough for a start. The second thing that you need to do is what can you do from home? Because charity begins at home. I always say you can't want to help other communities and you've not helped the people around you, your sister, brothers, everything. So what is it that you can do with your family, with the people around you? If it means having a cleanup even in your estate, then do it. Slowly, you'll start realizing, oh, actually, we can grow and start doing this, this, and this. But then it's just a matter of starting from somewhere. That's usually the issue. And for me, even with the story that I've just given you in the beginning, how did I start? From growing up in Laikipia. When I was 3, our house in Laikipia is literally next to the forest. So we used to have elephants coming at night and they will destroy the store. It was so normal. But every single day, as much as the community around me used to be frustrated about it, I used to talk to some of the locals about why do we need to kill these elephants? Because how they used to kill those elephants that encroached to our farm was just brutal. They would use like a block of wood and hammer a 6-inch nail on the block of wood and place it in our farms, and then the elephant would come and step on it, and it will walk for weeks with a 6-inch nail. So the fact that I experienced that just got to me thinking, how can I help these elephants? So I started talking to the communities about it a bit more, and that's when I was still a child. And when I came to Nairobi, I started adopting street cats in my estate, because we lived in a small estate. There were so many cats and dogs, so I would adopt them and then release them back or sell it to a friend or something of that sort. But if you think about it, all this I've done from home. It's just now that I have the platform to now go bigger to even other countries like Rwanda and Madagascar. But I didn't start from Rwanda and then come home. So whatever you can, do it from where you can now. Just think small, but have a bigger vision for it. Yeah.
Start at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think everyone listening to this has definitely, I hope they've picked something and that will help the environment grow.
Not tips on, I'll just highlight on 3: consistency, knowledge, and do what you can. Do what you can.
Consistency, knowledge, and do what you can.
Yes.
Great.
I have one more question for you.
Uh-huh.
It may be a bit of a I don't know, I don't want to say controversial question, but I just wanted to put it out there for people to hear. Being a woman, right? Like, we know that what's going on around the world, there's so much oppression on women, like, the stereotypes that are created. So being a woman in this industry, like, does it affect the work you can do or the work people think you can do?
Yes,
and perceptions?
Yes, that's a really good question. Stereotype that we have that men can lead. Okay, from how I grew up, traditionally, it's the same case that women are not leaders, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot for you to actually up and say, you know what, I might be a woman, but I'm going to stand up for what I believe is right. So a situation where women are more outspoken, which is, we still have people who come to still have that stereotype that you're a young girl, do much, what you're talking about, you still figure out your life. I experience that on a event. I experience that every single day. This is an industry that's dominated by men. But you have to know what your intentions are in your heart. Once you conquer your mindset as well, it's a challenge gonna come from being a woman. Every day I'll take times for me to be a better person. You have figured out a bigger part on how to challenge. So we are as human beings, because that's a stereotype that every day I see on social media, people trying to converse about, that it should not be about gender in leadership. Leadership is not even linked to gender in any way. It's your things. I think you're on the right track. It's just minds, believe in yourself. Because if I had that in mind, that there's a lot of men who do it, then I wouldn't have done it. Today I try to become better and better and better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to everyone listening, I know we get a lot of viewers from out. The tradition is the same, you know, that women are kind of, I don't want to say lower, but it's not true, but like tradition, to anyone out there, to any young girls, young boys, I mean, you've heard what Mama Wanyama has said. Yeah,
Exactly.
just consistency and do what you can, man.
Yeah.
To anyone, three
Yeah.
very important things.
I think those three things are extremely important.
I'm so sorry. My phone is just literally about to die right now. Need to charge it.
No, I think this is a great place to end, and I think it's amazing for people to hear you. And definitely, we're gonna do something, the three of us, and together with my team, we're definitely going to do something together. From what you're an inspiring person, you care for the environment. We all should do. You inspire people to care for the environment, and you really are the voice of the voiceless.
Thank you. I will share a link programs and see how to go about that. But yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Some. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
We'll continue talking, your friend.
Thank you to all the viewers as well. Thank you to all the viewers for listening. And make sure you subscribe to Oro Vlogs. Follow our socials, which are down below. And we're going to also tag Some's wildlife, her wildlife foundation and her social media. And we really like to thank her for thank her for joining us. It's a pleasure for us to have her, and we'll see you in the next video and the next podcast. Bye bye.